Oh, let me start that again. Good afternoon and welcome to the First United Way Virtual Town Hall. My name is Audrey Walker and I will be your moderator for today's Town Hall on unemployment insurance. Today we will hear from United Way's President and CEO, Dr. Darian Hudson, and Steve Gray, Director of the Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency. For those of you watching live, please leave your questions in the Q&A chat box, which you will find by clicking on the question mark at the top right-hand corner of your screen. The last 10 minutes of today's town hall are reserved for questions, and we will do our best to get through every question. Now, I would like to give a warm welcome to United Way's President and CEO, Dr. Darian Hudson, to say a few words.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here with us. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone who is listening to this. We are here standing with you and hoping that today's town hall is the first of many opportunities that we can provide to you to give you important information on how to navigate your way through this pandemic. This town hall series is something that we will begin to do hopefully every Friday as we're bringing emergency information to you to make sure that you have what you need. And before I introduce our guest speaker today, who is going to share some really pertinent information with us about unemployment, I also wanted to make sure that you all were aware of the 211 service that we offer. It's just 3 digits that you have to remember. Calling this information and referral service, all you need is your zip code, and we can connect you to over 1,300 different agencies to provide resources for you for any of the basic needs that you might have at this time. You can also go to 211 online, and we have been flashing our website for you to review, but you can also go to unitedwaysem.org/211 to be able to find this information as well. And it can be something as simple as typing the word rent, or typing the word diapers, or typing the word food, and you'll be able to see all of the different resources that are available to you during this time. We are very pleased to introduce to all of you today one of our key partners in this fight for this pandemic and to make sure that people have resources, Director Steve Gray. He is joining us from Michigan's Unemployment Insurance Agency, and he's been a part of this agency now for almost a year and has really been leading our state through this crisis. He is a professor and an attorney with 30 years of experience and expertise in unemployment insurance and administrative law. Previous to his position with the UIA, he was a member of a bipartisan legislative work group responsible for creating an 8-bill package aimed at improving Michigan's UIA system and customer experience. We are so honored to have him with us here today, and I am very pleased to give a very warm welcome to Director Steve Gray, and we'll turn the microphone over to him. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. I appreciate this opportunity to update your community on what's going on with the Unemployment Insurance Agency and what we've seen in the unprecedented volume of claims, and also the opportunity to answer questions. We just have lots of questions flooding in, and so we're grateful for the opportunity to speak to some of these questions. But before we get to those, I'd like to try to give folks just an update on what's going on with the unemployment insurance program in Michigan right now, and then we'll open it up for questions. So between May 15th and May 6th, we've paid out over $4.13 billion in unemployment benefits. And that's gone to over 1 million recipients. And we're committed to making sure that every eligible worker in Michigan who applies for unemployment benefits receives them. So we had, between May 15th and May 2nd, more than 1.3 million people file an initial claim. Now, that's what the Department of Labor reports. That number is actually a bit higher because that doesn't take into account the people that apply just for this federal pandemic unemployment assistance. That puts us near the top of states in terms of number of claims filed and the percentage of our workforce affected. So just to put that in perspective, our busiest day that we had over 74,000 claims filed on that day. During the last recession, the Great Recession, the most claims that we had filed in a week was 73,000. So we were taking more claims in a week than we were, more claims in a day than we were during the busiest time. Also, this happened over the course of basically 6 weeks. So it's just a dramatic increase in the number of claims that we were taking. The other piece of it is that it came at a time when unemployment was at an all-time low. And so our staffing was at an all-time low. So we had about 650 staff around the state that were working on in the Unemployment Insurance Agency when this started. And we have, at the time during the Great Recession, the largest staffing levels we had was between 12 and 1,300 staff. So, the capacity that we had at the time, was certainly undermatched to the crisis that we saw as the claim volumes just increased. So one of the things that the governor has done is to try to remove some of the barriers for people and their eligibility requirements. And so she signed a number of executive orders that remove some of the requirements that would stand in the way of people getting unemployment benefits. So for example, normally a person has to look for work and also register for work in person. And because of the pandemic and because of we wanted people to be staying home as much as possible, she removed those work search and work registration requirements. She's also eased a number of the other requirements that were standing in the way of people getting their benefits. So there are a number of people that still haven't been paid yet. And I know that they're the people that keep me up at night, that our agency is focused on right now. When we started this pandemic, we were focused on getting these new federal programs up and running and implemented, and we were able to get that $600 additional payment, that PUC payment, up and running within several days. And so we were one of the first states in the country to pay that out. And also the pandemic unemployment assistance for the 1099 workers, for the self-employed people, or the people who didn't have enough wages to qualify for a normal state claim. That pandemic unemployment assistance, we had that up and running, and we're taking applications by April 13th, and we were one of the first states in order to do that. And our focus was getting those initial claims in and getting those approved for everybody that we could. But we know now that there's still a significant number of people that need to have their claims reviewed. And so we have people that have been waiting a number of weeks in order to get their claims reviewed by a person, and that's where we're focusing our attention right now. And we're working on those in reverse chronological order. So we're going after the oldest ones first, and reviewing those and determining whether people are eligible, and if they are, we're releasing their payments. For those people that are waiting out there, and have been waiting for a number of weeks, I just want to say that we're committed to getting you paid if you're eligible. That's what we're working 7 days a week on. We have staff working overtime, and rest assured that if you're eligible and you're approved, it's going to be backdated to when your last day of work was. So just want to give a little bit of information about the phone lines, because I think that's one of the bigger complaints that I hear sometimes is that, I tried to get a hold of somebody over the phone. I called 100 times, I called 200 times, and I wasn't able to reach anybody. So we tried to set the system up so that you wouldn't need to use the phones unless you don't have internet access. And so you should be able to do everything that you need to do online with your account. And I understand that isn't helpful for people that have questions or don't understand what's going on. But we're trying to reserve the phones right now for people that haven't been able to get their claim filed at all because they don't have internet access or they're having some problem getting into the system. And so we've set up a team to deal just with people that are, for whatever reason, locked out of the online system or they don't have internet access. And so we need to take their claim over the phone. So then other than that, the phones are really only going to be available for, processing those two things. And then when you call, you can get a status update. But again, we're asking people not to use those phones if you can help it, and rather use the online system to communicate with us if you have questions. We do have a number of Q&As out there. I've been doing a number of Q&As. If you can use those to answer your questions, or you can send us a web notice over the online system to find out the answer, we'd appreciate it, because there are people that need to use the phones because they don't have any other way, and we want to make sure that the phones are available for them. So that's typically not how it's been with us, right? Typically it's been if there's a question or there's some problem with your claim or whatever, you can give us a call. And we just put a new phone system in place that allowed us to, reduce our wait times to 5 minutes or less. Before the pandemic, we were taking about 5,000 to 7,000 calls, a day, and had 200 staff dedicated just to that. Now we're taking 150,000, 170,000 calls a day, and we can't get to, even if we increased our staff tenfold, we couldn't get to all those. And so we're asking folks, if they can, use the online system. About 95% of the people so far have used the online system to file their claims. And so that's what we're asking people to do right now. That's my update for what's going on with the Unemployment Insurance Agency, and I'm happy to get to questions if you have those, Audrey.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for that. And thanks to all of you who have been sending in questions already. We've gotten a few here, so I'm just going to get started with them. You can obviously submit your questions through the Q&A box by clicking on the question mark at the top right corner of the screen. So our first question here is, my brother is a business owner and has 3 locations. They closed 2 and he doesn't make enough money for himself. Can he apply for unemployment?
So Congress created a program for self-employed and the business owners. And so that program is called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, and I referenced that earlier. And basically, it's for the people that are 1099 employees or self-employed or don't have enough covered wages. And you just go onto our site, and you'll end up putting in your Social Security number. And when it shows that you don't have enough covered wages, it'll take you to an application form that you can fill out, and then answer a few questions. I think the main question will be, is your income reduced? Is it the reason that you're not earning your typical income because of COVID? And if it is, then you're going to be eligible for that. And the benefits that pay out is between $160 and $362 a week. Plus, there's an additional add-on of $600 a week that everybody gets, whether it's pandemic unemployment assistance, the federal assistance, or the state assistance.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Our next question that we have here is, I am the primary caregiver for my children. The schools have been closed due to coronavirus. I don't have any work history and I'm a stay-at-home mom. Am I eligible for the pandemic unemployment? If yes, does it stop when school normally closes in mid-June?
So I think it's worth you applying for pandemic unemployment assistance just because it's a possibility, but I would say, unfortunately, likely not. You have to have some kind of, and it pains me to say it because, my wife was stay at home when our kids were young for a while. And so I know how much work that is. But the current system isn't recognizing, unless you had some kind of income, some kind of cash coming in from some source, it's not recognizing, those people as being covered. So I always encourage people, if they're not sure, to apply. But I think there's it's likely that you're not going to be eligible, I'm sorry to say.
All right. Our next question is, I filed a protest over a month ago, and I still haven't gotten a response or a check. How long does it take to protest?
So typically it would take 21 days for us to review your protest and have an individual look at your case. But as you can imagine, with the high increase in volume now, it's taken significantly longer. And so the good thing is, when you file a protest, it's got to be reviewed by a person. And the good thing is we're reviewing those in reverse chronological order. So in all likelihood, if it's been 3 weeks that you're waiting, it's going to be coming up soon that we're going to be reviewing your case.
Okay. Now, we are getting a lot of questions on being locked out of accounts. Is there an easy way to get that fixed?
There is. So hopefully. So we have two options there. So if there is an option for a password reset, and so if the reason that you're getting locked out, there is a self-service option available for those that are getting locked out because of a password reset. And I know some people have not seen that. We tried to make it more prominent now so that people can see that they can actually help themselves reset their password. But if there's some other reason that you're being locked out of your account, then there'll be an option available to you that you can click on the link saying that you need further help with this. And a little form will pop up on your computer that allows you to give us your name and your cell phone number and a brief description of what you think the problem is. And then that will be forwarded to a queue that our staff is reviewing. And we've got about 250 people dedicated just to reviewing those and helping people with the lockouts. And we're doing those in reverse chronological order as well. We're much further along on getting those done than we are on the cases that need individual review. So that's the best way to solve that problem, is to fill that form out, and then you'll get a call from one of our staff. And I hesitate to say this, but it's going to come on an 866 number. And I know people don't like to answer 866 calls, but if you've submitted that form and you get an 866 call, I'm going to ask you to answer, because there's no likelihood it's one of our staff that is calling to help you with the problem.
Okay. We're also getting a lot of questions about being stuck in adjudication. What is the solution?
Adjudication, pending adjudication. Yeah. And so, that's a term that I'm not sure why we use it in our site, because nobody really knows what that means. But it means that your case is needing to be reviewed by one of our internal adjudicators, which is also another word for like a judge. And so somebody who's been trained in the laws and the eligibility issues and how to find the facts in a case. And so, we've got people that are dedicated just to reviewing cases. And so as long as you don't have anything under your alerts in your account that you need to complete, then it's just a matter of coming back and checking your account. If you call us, it's not going to help us get to the case any quicker. People aren't going to be able to do that adjudication over the phone with you. We've got people that's all they're doing every day, is adjudicating cases, making the decisions, reviewing to make sure that you're eligible. And so it's a matter of just coming back to the site, once a day and checking to see if that case has been reviewed and it's either been approved or denied.
Okay. Our next question here says, how does filing for unemployment benefits work for essential employees who may resign from their job? Is one eligible to apply?
So that's a tough one. Before I came to this job, I was an attorney representing people that who had their claims denied. And I would often say in a case where a person has quit their job and unemployment, I only wish that they would have come to me beforehand to ask me whether they should quit or not and whether they can get unemployment. So that's kind of, it's harder to get unemployment if you quit a job. It's not impossible, and it doesn't mean that you can't. And the question in this environment is, you're having work available to you, and the question is it in compliance with MIOSHA and CDC guidelines? Is it a safe place? Or do you have some condition that would make it not safe for you to be there, right? And so what we look at is there a COVID-related reason for you that would mean that you couldn't work in that environment? And then the employer is obligated to make sure that you've got a safe work environment. And so if you're leaving, if you've given them you filed a complaint with MIOSHA about the working conditions, and it's clear that they aren't providing a safe environment for you to work, then you would be eligible for unemployment. But if you can work it out with them to make sure that things are safe for you, I would say try to do that first before you quit, because the burden's going to be on you when you quit to show that you did it, for good cause. So.
Okay. We've got a great question here. I need help with my WorkShare program. The phone number disconnects. I've tried the dedicated email and no one has responded. And the people on the employer chat line do not know anything about the program. Please help me connect to someone who knows the technical details of the program. Do you have some information on that?
Absolutely. So, as you know, the good news is for businesses that want to take advantage of WorkShare, which I think we're really putting a lot of energy and emphasis on that right now, because we think it'll be an amazing tool for employers to use. And we know that there's been problems with people connecting to our staff around WorkShare. And it's in reality because the number of claimants that have been trying and not been able to get into our phone system are kind of flooding over to the employer side. And so we're just put in place a new screening tool so that an employer can put in their employer ID number. And it's our new system for employers is now only going to let employers that have their employer ID number be able to access the system. So you should be able to get to us that way. And we have increased dramatically the training for everybody that's on the phone around WorkShare. So just yesterday we finished training 80 employees that answer the employer phones, and so on WorkShare specifically. So that should be available, and if they can't answer your questions, there'll be somebody that we can escalate it to that can answer your questions.
That's great. Thank you. We've got a couple more questions here and about 5 more minutes or so to answer some. So we've got another question here. How do I know if my non-monetary issue is covered by the recently signed governor's order? Also, how do I know if I need to apply for pandemic unemployment assistance after having gone the traditional route of unemployment insurance agency?
So I'll answer the second question first. So if an option is presented to you under your alerts in the online system to apply for pandemic unemployment assistance, then that's something that you should usually do. So that's how you know if you should go with pandemic. If your state claim is denied, it's going to allow you to apply for pandemic unemployment assistance. So the recent order is going to, I think, free up a lot of people. The recent order that the governor signed says that it removed a barrier that required us to evaluate previous separations from employment that weren't actually the reason that was causing you to be unemployed right now. So, for example, we'd look at the past year and any separations you had from any employer, and we have to evaluate whether or not that was a reason you should be disqualified. Well, this order, the governor said, no, we're going to take that away. So if the reason for your non-monetary is because of a previous employer, then that should be cleared up. And we're looking for that to get resolved by this weekend.
Okay. We have a couple of questions here about alerts and things like that. One question says, I had an alert to file a new claim. It asked about severance. Now the alert says I have a pending or completed claim. What does this mean?
So if there are questions that come up in your weekly certifications or when you're filing a claim about income that you had, it's going to ask you to go back and give us some more information about it. And so it's confusing because it says file a new claim. What it really should say is, please provide us additional information. Now, it's the similar questions that you answered when you did file a new claim, and so that's why it says that. But so if there's an alert there, you need to fill that out. And once you fill it out and you're eligible, your payment will be released. It may be that because of the information that you provided, it's waiting for us to review, and that goes back into that pool of cases that we're reviewing in reverse chronological order.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to be wrapping up here. This is all the time we had for questions, but I just want everybody to know that we will post answers on our website, and we'll include that link to this recording on Facebook as well. So because we want to make sure that we get to all the questions, and we're so thankful for you, Steve, to be here to answer these questions today. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Hudson now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Audrey, and thank you especially to Director Gray. Your expertise is very evident, and your compassion for people's experiences is very evident as well. And so I just want to encourage everyone who is listening today, please take the time. You can go to our website, unitedwayscm.org/virtual-town-halls. If you need to repeat this so you can hear the answers to the questions, you can also go to 211 online, or you can call just the 3 digits, 211. If you, a neighbor, a family member needs help of any kind, that is also a place to start. We will be back next week at 1 o'clock. We'll be focusing on food assistance. We'll have guest speakers from Gleaners as well as the YMCA of Metro Detroit. And so until then, we pray for everyone's health and safety, and look forward to seeing you soon. Be well and stay safe.